Hey everybody, Ryan FMTG here, and today we're going to talk about another EXGP. This time around the rule change is active response AMP is +5. There's some confusion with the wording of this sentence, however, and it seems like the consensus means that rather than getting +2 of active response, you'll get +5 MP, which I think that makes the most sense. However, that's how I built my decks around. If that take is wrong, my decks won't make as much sense, but that's what I'm running with because that's what makes the most sense. And that's overall +5 MP for active response is kind of a big deal because usually when you're building your deck, it's usually the 2 MP action cards are the free ones that you can play for free in response to something. However, now 2 goes all the way up to 5. So 5 becomes the benchmark of the free ones in response. However, it's still in response. If you play an action first, that's 5 MP, it's still going to cost 5 MP. However, if they play something, then that's when you get the glory of the free 5 MP to play with. At first I was like, oh man, this is kind of cool. You can play decks with tons of actions and especially very high cost action spells at that. However, I think that was a little bit wrong, so I kind of brought that down a notch, was a little bit less of a kid with a candy store. I do think that this allows you to play more high cost action spells, as well as just more action spells in general. However, you still need units, right? Units is usually what wins games of Teppen. So therefore, you still need units. You still cannot have all 5 MP or more actions, because if you have that in your opener, that's going to really stink. So I made 3 decks. They're kind of a little toned down than maybe last week's. However, we are playing with some more flashy, high MP cost action spells that we usually don't get to play with, so it is pretty fun overall. We made a Nergigante, a Wesker, and a Morrigan. So let's talk about the decks. The first deck that I want to talk about is a Nergigante Spike Launch. I like the Spike Launch decks overall in this metagame and in this season, and I really feel like this could be a good metagame for this EXGP to have low aggressive creatures with then just some high removal spells that just can kill anything, and that's kind of what Nergigante does anyways, but we can kind of slant the numbers a little bit here or there since we are getting more MP to play around with. Overall, this is kind of similar to a deck that I have been playing with. However, we did cut some of the low stuff, or just some of the units, the legendary units that were a little bit higher, because I'm like, I want to play lower MP units and then higher MP actions. So that's kind of where this is coming into play. The higher MP action spells that we were playing is I added a 3rd obliteration because this card is great. It's a catch-all. It can kill anything, no questions asked. Usually it's a 2-0 because it's 6 MP. However, if you are playing this in the active response phase, this is really just 1 MP since 5 is for free. So that makes it a lot easier to play 3 of this. And then kind of in the same vein, we are playing 2 Scavenger. I still like Obliteration overall a little bit more because it's no questions asked, where this is more mid to late game play. However, you still do get the free MP, so 6 is not as high of a cost to play this, and you do gain life. Nergigante wants to gain life, so this is very good. However, it's still just a 2 of over 3 of Obliteration, because like I said, it's a mid to late game play, where Obliteration can be your first play or your second play and you're doing good, where this cannot be your first or second play. And then I did cut some of the low Selfless Flirtation or Mad Massacres, because having 1 MP action I feel is going to be a little bit less viable here, because they're still good, right? We are still playing 2 Selfless Predation and still 2 Murderous Spikes, but I did cut 1 and 1, and I believe usually like 1 or 2 Mad Massacres sometimes, because we want our actions to be high cost, and we usually don't want to do a Selfless Predation, because if we spend 1 MP to do a Selfless Predation, we're giving our opponent free 5 MP to play around with, and that doesn't feel great. It's still something that we kind of just have to do because it's fine, but cut the numbers a little bit to try and meet it in the middle. And then of course we kind of round it up with just a whole bunch of good units. Most of it is 3 of a kinds of Knight, Crow, William, Dynarex, Dynamo, and Melphis, because either we are losing life with the likes of these cards, or losing life with William, or it's a payoff because this gets pumped when we are low on life, and this also gets pumped and also can gain us a little bit of life. And we are playing 2 Vial just because, this has nothing to do with life gain or life loss. However, Vial is just a good solid body for very, very good rates, and it kind of helps stabilize or get ahead. And all this is just to then try to get to 12 life loss so we can do a big spike launch. Overall, I think this might be the deck I'm most looking forward to, or it's Wesker. So let's talk about Wesker now. This is the other deck that I'm very much looking forward to. This is a Wesker Burroughs. To no one's surprise, if you've watched me stream or watched any videos, I love Wesker Burroughs decks. I love Living Death. I love Burroughs, getting back big devils and whatnot. So usually when I get a chance to brew with it, I will. And I really, really like this because it kind of is in a similar vein of the Nergigante list, of we're kind of cutting some of the lower MP cost actions and adding some higher MP cost actions, which seems really good for this deck. The biggest change to this deck is we're actually playing Forced Revival. This is something that's kind of seen a little play here or there, maybe a one of. It's kind of fallen out of favor for the past couple of months, rightly so, because it is slow. But this is exactly what this deck kind of wants. It wants more ways to resurrect from the grave its big units that we either sent there or that traded off. However, 7 MP is very high, but we're getting 5 free MP if we do this in response to something. So this can sometimes just really cost 2 MP. So that's awesome because we're getting back a big devil and giving it +1/+1. That's a really big game. So I feel like this is really Forced Revivals, maybe Time in the Sun, which feels really, really nice. And like with the Nergigante list, we kind of cut some of the Selfless Flirtation, Mad Massacres, and Murderous Spikes for the same reason. We don't want to be giving our opponents a free opportunity to play a very high cost MP action for a very low cost rate. So we kind of cut some of that to add the Forced Revival, and we are playing more of this. I do like this monster, however, I still like the Devil and the Tyrant more. So I'm playing with all 3 of them because we have Forced Revival. We can maybe play a couple more units because we have more ways to resurrect them as well. And I did cut the the Revenge Tyrants, because I think the Revenge Tyrant is sometimes the weakest. However, we really only have 2 units that we can play early, so I could envision hands where we have, too many Forced Revivals and too many big monsters, and it could be a little clunky. But man, if we can just get like 1 monster down and then Forced Revival it back a couple times or rebirth it back once it trades off and really have that Forced Revival be cheaper, I think this deck could be really, really fun and very powerful. Because, we're taking a very powerful shell. However, we're basically playing 6 rebirths, and that's awesome. The last deck I brewed up is a Morrigan Darkness Illusion deck. This is the one that I think is the most sketchy. I like Morrigan, I like Darkness Illusion, and I like big Resonate decks, but I do feel like this could be a little sketchy for this EXGP, but it still looks fun. The reason why I feel like it's sketchy is because Big Resin, if you have Trish or Ibuki on the field, you want to play a lot of low MP action spells, so you can get the Resin, bam, 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 and have them be very, very hard to kill and, just be hitting for a lot. However, kind of like what I said with the Selfless Predation and stuff, sometimes you don't want to be playing 1 MP or 2 MP actions because then you're letting your opponent have 5 MP for free to then play something. However, if we play a Deadweight, then they play a 5 MP kill spell, well then we will get 5 free MP. So that's why I still think a big Resonate deck can work, because you still can play with it even if you're letting your opponent get 5 free MP. Well then if they use that MP, then you're getting the 5 free MP for an action. So I think that is okay. And the first thing, kind of like you saw a lot with the black decks, of like, oh, we get to play more hard removal or more Forced Revival, stuff like that. This, it's like, wait, we can use more counter spells. Usually what's problematic with the counter spells is the low cost ones either make you take a lot of life loss, or they're very, negate something that's 3 MP or less. So it's not a catch-all, but wait, we can play high clunky catch-all counter spells like Erased Memories. Usually this card doesn't see play because it's 6 MP, negate an action card that costs 6 MP or less. It's really good. Like, most action spells that people are playing are 6 MP, right, or less, Obliteration, stuff like that. This can actually counter Obliteration, However, usually you don't want to counter a 6 MP card with a 6 MP card, but with such the big mana ramp, or sorry, MP ramp of 5, this kind of just costs 1. So I think this will be really nice because we can play Deadweight, and then if they try to obliterate our Trish, well, as long as we had one action or 1 MP before this, we can use Erased Memory to save our Trish. And that seems really good. I really like Erased Memory in this type of deck. And then the other high MP cost action spells that we are playing is we are playing Surge of Demonic Power. This is kind of seeing a lot of play because it's just so powerful. So it's like, why not play this? We can kind of do it for cheaper. So, get the ball rolling faster sometimes. And then we are playing 1 Soul's Return. This actually maybe wants to be a 2-of because it's a really, really good effect, especially if you're playing against like a green deck that has all their lanes filled and then you have no units on the battlefield. However, 8 MP is still a lot and you do have to kind of wait for them to do something. And it can bounce yours, so I think a 1-of is okay. It could be a 2-of. And then, of course, we are playing Darkness Illusion, so we want our Deadweights, Power Grabs, Crystal Hunters, and Dark Hold, everything that's inflicting halt, so these can be hard removal when used with our hero power. And then our only other actions are Hook Shot and Devil Trigger, because this is just great to put on our Trish or Ibuki to make them, have flying and to hit harder and faster. And then we are playing Trish, Ibuki as our big resin threats, and then of course Jury, Devil Hunter Dante, as well as V, because those are kind of the staple legendary purple cards. And then speak about legendary purple cards, what purple deck would not be without Brainwash, which is even a little bit better because if we're doing this in response to something, it costs a lot less. Overall, I think this rule change is kind of fun. I don't think you could go too crazy, because I think if you go too crazy with your deck building, you'll have a lot of dead hands. Even maybe the decks that I have brewed, maybe we'll have a couple too many dead hands, because you are only getting that MP ramp when you're doing it in response to your opponent doing an action spell. So that kind of is different, but overall I think it's fun. It was fun to brew these. I do think that the Nergigante and the Wesker decks probably will be a little bit better out of these 3 decks, and the purple deck could be a little bit more sink or swim. However, there could be decks that I haven't really thought of, so if you've brewed up a deck that I haven't talked about, show it off in the comments, and maybe I'll even play it. Maybe you made something that I like a little bit more. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.